Morning, everyone. Many thanks for joining us. Just a quick introduction to me. I'm Nigel Sergent, Editorial Director at CommsDealer, and I'm your host for today's virtual roundtable. We are running in association with Gamma, Paoni Wholesale, Tollring, and Zen Internet, four very influential players in the channel. This is the first in a series of channel forecast roundtables. We're running each quarter this year, in which we're going to be quizzing top suppliers on the important issues affecting channel business. And obviously in these channel times, in these challenging times rather, it's very important that players get some understanding of what suppliers are up to and how they're going to help them get through these times. Obviously, what the future holds is going to be very difficult to determine for all channel players that are providing services to small businesses, enterprises across the UK. So it's going to be very interesting to get your viewpoints. During our debate, I think it will be helpful to understand what lessons our leaders, that's you, have learned from this coronavirus pandemic, which has resulted in the longest lockdown in British history, all the ongoing social measures we're facing, and the prospect of selling solutions to customers working what essentially will be the worst economic downturn that they're saying this country's ever had. But it's not all gloom and doom, and I'm sure there'll be lots of positives coming out of today's debate. As I said earlier, we have a very knowledgeable panel today joining us, and I'd just like to do a quick round robin and ask each of them to introduce themselves and give us a quick overview of their business and the role they play in them. So first up, I'd like to introduce Andy Smethurst, Channel Director at Gamma. Morning, Andy.
Good morning, Nigel. How are you doing? Good morning, everyone. Andy Smethurst, Channel Director at Gamma. Hopefully many of you are aware of our work, but yes, we provide communication services to about 1,300 channel partners in the UK. Personally, my responsibility involves looking after two of those geographical areas, responsible for about half of the channel partner relationships.
Fabulous. Thanks very much, Andy. Our next guest is Sachin Vaish, who's founder and managing director at Paoni Wholesale. Welcome, Sachin.
Hi, morning all. I'm Sachin Vaish, MD at Paoni Wholesale. I'm sure most of you know who we are, but we ultimately are a connectivity specialist, specialising in mainly high bandwidth connectivity to the channel, and we look after roughly around 300-400 partners across the UK.
Fabulous. Thanks, Sachin. Third up is Tony Martino, who is CEO at Tollring. Morning, Tony.
Morning, Nigel. Thank you very much for having me here, and morning to everybody as well. So I'm Tony Martino. I'm the CEO here at Tollring, have been CEO since 2002. Much has changed over those many years as we bring business communications, analytics and call recording tools to the market. Today we have over 20,000 end businesses utilising our business management tools in one shape or form, and we deliver that through a network of 80 service providers and through several hundred channel partners globally.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Tony. And finally, I'd like to welcome Steve Warburton, who's Managing Director of Partners at Zen Internet. Morning, Steve.
Good morning, Nigel. So, as I say, I think many of you, I'm sure, know the brand, but yeah, we're a provider of connectivity, voice and cloud services to the channel. We've got 700 partners that we provide those services to, and we've got our own network connecting about 150,000 customers, and delighted to be joining this morning and contributing to the discussion.
Thanks very much, Steve, and thank you all for those introductions. So let's get things underway and get to the nitty-gritty. Now, analysts predict, and I think they are right, that for many, working from home will become a normal way of working. Indeed, Gartner says as many as 82% of business leaders intend to have employees working at home some of the time, and 47% permanently, which is quite astonishing. So my first question has to be, what opportunities do the new hybrid and working from home practices present for channel partners as customers seek to improve productivity, maintain discipline, and meet regulatory and corporate requirements? So, Andy, can I ask you that question first, please?
Yeah, of course, Nigel. Yeah, I think at the very least, employers will want their employees to have access to everything that they had when they were in the office. And for many, many businesses, that is going to drive a shift to hosted technologies, potentially even as an obligation because of the regulations that they're perhaps under, depending on the industry that they're working within. And of course, that just simply represents an enormous opportunity for the channel. I think one of the starting points will be, home broadband will become greatly scrutinised. I think in terms of what people have at home already. There'll be an increased demand for business-grade broadband, I'm sure, and I wouldn't mind betting that we'll see a real uptick in people taking FTTP at home, especially those looking to work there permanently. And some will take this a step further, of course, as well, because again, going back to the sort of regulations and requirements, there's probably going to be a need to consider security and intelligent routing of the traffic that's on those data circuits. From a telephony perspective, I think increased home working's clearly shone a spotlight on the inflexibility of on-premise equipment. And there's a huge opportunity to cross-sell and target new business with messages that really hone in on, I think, some of the pain points that people have been experiencing over the last 12 months. And I think that opportunity is vast. I think we've all seen, and we're doing it now, the uptake of video conferencing, instant messaging, screen sharing, and the like. That's been huge. I would argue that a lot of that has been to the benefit of internal communications for an organisation. And I think that we're now at that stage where the opportunity is to consider what products and services and features are available over and above that, to then take the opportunity to the next level, to address performance, operational performance, seek opportunities to increase sales, whatever it might be. I think there's just a vast plethora of features out there that can now be talked about within customers that previously weren't educated on what was available to them. So it's really quite exciting, to be perfectly honest. And I think with some of those opportunities come the challenge that the channel partner then needs to be the trusted partner of that end customer. I think there's probably now a longer sales cycle. It might not even be a sales cycle that starts and ends anymore. It's a consultative sale, a consultative relationship with that end customer to constantly just to be evaluating what they're doing and what the channel partner could be offering to assist with their business. And I think perhaps one of the underlying things about all of that is that it all gets accelerated, of course, by the PSTN switch off as well. So you've had an event that's happened and an event that's coming, and I think it's culminated in a fantastic opportunity for the channel.
Thanks very much. You mentioned connectivity there, which is brings me to Sachin Vaish. Sachin, same question to you, really. I mean, are you finding that this demand for home working and remote working has challenged your business and challenged your partners, or is it all going exceedingly well?
It's a good question. I think Andy's points are really valid. I think if you look at the change that we've seen, really, it puts a big spotlight on home working connectivity, doesn't it? The domestic market. So what we're seeing now for our business is certainly an upturn in bandwidth requirements where organizations are hosting on-premise. We're also seeing a transition of those on-premise applications being pushed into the cloud. And there's a huge focus now on, how do we get home working solutions working effectively? Because ultimately, most of us here have got domestic connections at home. How do we guarantee the applications? How do we guarantee the video conferencing that we're on today? We're lucky that some of these cloud applications, adapt to what are the more difficult working conditions that we're now in. So there is a challenge specifically around how to deploy home working solutions efficiently with speed and guaranteeing the performance of the applications to the cloud. So so there's an opportunity here to really focus on how do we bring the cloud applications, the Salesforces, the Microsoft Teams, potentially Zoom and other applications. How do we bring those closer to the users who are working from home over domestic connections? And how do the altnets start to accelerate the deployments of their connectivity to bring faster and more stable connectivity to the home? And I think that should be the real focus now for our industry. is to help accelerate the deployments of fiber to the premise and other ultra fast technologies. So there's a huge focus around that. Voice is another big play. I completely agree with Andy. On-premise telephony, it has had its day, and it's even more apparent now that you just can't operate efficiently. Who wants hardware now? I think there was a conversation not so long ago. Will telephony hardware, handsets, will they become extinct because now we're all using mobile phones? But now we're in COVID and this pandemic, and the question now is still the same. But now it's, well, we're working from home. Where do you put your handset? Let's just use soft phones. So there's a huge play around that. So I think there's a big opportunity for the ICT to really focus on the home working solution and getting that right.
Thanks very much, Sachin. Steve, Zen Internet, obviously a carrier. Can you just give us a picture of the amount of circuits you put into homes across the last few months, and how have you been sort of helping channel partners achieve what is essentially something that's very necessary going forward?
Yeah, it's been interesting, Nigel. I think what we've seen is channel partners are slightly reluctantly now getting into providing services into the home. Their typical expertise is into the SME, and they've not necessarily wanted to get into that market. But I think to touch on some of the points that have already been made, we are going to see this big shift to full fibre. And in the past, the bottleneck was the connection, and that's going to change. So you're going to have a gig of connectivity coming into your house. Getting that amount of bandwidth around the home is a challenge. And then if you're a business user, you can't afford to have the dreaded spinning wheel on Teams or the dropout on Zoom. It's a real problem. So I think businesses are going to look to those channel partners to say, look, how can you help me there in terms of equipment to get that amount of bandwidth around the home? I think the other area I just want to point out, Nigel, is around the office as well, because I think as we've sort of shared, the days of having banks of desks and hundreds of people in offices are definitely behind us. We're going to be in this hybrid world, and I think there's a great opportunity there for partners, because even just looking at Zen's own experience, we're expecting to have about half of our people in the office moving forward, and talking to surveying our teams, what they want is collaboration space. So they want some space in the office where they can get together with 4 or 5 people around a screen and be able to have calls with customers, suppliers, and people at home. And that creates a real opportunity for partners to support what is going to be a big investment in IT in businesses in their traditional office environments.
Absolutely. And you mentioned their applications, which brings me on to Tony Martino at Tollring. Tony, you're selling these kind of applications via resellers. Can you explain what's happening out there in the market for you?
Yeah, look, it's an exciting time at the moment. Certainly, the fact that we've kind of gone through an unprecedented time, obviously, and the first phase really we saw everyone trying to be mobilised. The channel was really effective. Did an immense job at getting everyone working from home in a strong way, being able to have that connectivity as the guys have mentioned, and working from home, pure play. Now we're starting to see really the need for businesses to be able to work more effectively, be more productive. They want to have access to the tools that they would once have access from the offices. Andy had mentioned earlier. I think now we're starting to see people wanting to understand business productivity. They want to understand well-being, staff well-being. I mean, we're all stuck away at the moment, aren't we? In our home offices, we're disparate from our colleagues. We're removed from that sort of office environment. So the ability to really understand our staff is starting to really play a part. The channel's asking for tools that can assist in compliance, for example. We see regulatory compliance as a big factor now. I think initially authorities were a little bit more lenient. Obviously, as we kind of migrated to the home office, there was a little bit less pressure, but now certainly from a regulatory standpoint, we're seeing a lot more requirements now to really adhere to, as I say, GDPR. We supply call recording services, for example. we're seeing a massive push now to ensure that all of the compliance elements around call recording are adhered to, irrespective of where you're working from. I think the opportunity is for value-added services is growing. It's something which the channel can start looking at in terms of, well, how can we start supplying these services in a more hybrid way, right? And give people the ability to access those services irrespective of where they're sitting. So that we see as a massive opportunity, really. And as I say, the channel's done a great job in going through these various phases of requirements. And certainly now it's looking about at business productivity, staff well-being, and customer engagement. You know, we need to retain our customers. I think in these really difficult times, you know, customer service is so critical, isn't it? And having tools at your disposal to be able to really provide the highest level of customer interaction and engagement is critical. And we're starting to see that now being a really important part in this journey, really.
You teed me up beautifully there for my next question, Tony, which is about customer engagement and customer service. It's an old chestnut. I think, you know, I think it's very important that the industry shakes off that poor service reputation that for some reason keeps following around. So it'd be good to understand what suppliers can do to change this and help channel partners deliver service excellence and meet what is going to be a vast increase in customer expectations. So perhaps Andrew, you can answer that one for me. Bad service, yeah, good service.
well, it's interesting, isn't it, Nigel? As you sort of say, you know, the industry that we work in, we should be sort of setting the gold template, shouldn't we, for customer service? So you know, I think, you know, it centres around being contactable, accountable, and largely that just boils down to communication. Well, that's our industry, right? So and there's certainly tools available to us to improve on perhaps where we are. And I perhaps encourage channel partners to think about how do their customers engage with them currently, and beyond just voice and email. You know, many people today would prefer to get in touch with you via web chat, instant message you, give you a tweet, but their expectations haven't changed. Their expectations haven't changed. They want a prompt response and they want a quick resolution to the query. Something else that's perhaps changed over recent times is the opportunity perhaps to consider supporting people self-serve, and that's a real challenge, that one, because my own personal experience as a consumer is fraught with frustration, can be fraught with frustration. You could get sent down a rabbit hole where you don't get your question answered and then there's no other way of communicating. So I think it can be a useful tool, but it has to be in conjunction with everything else. So I think there's a lot to consider. That's at the sort of channel partner level. I mean, for us, well, the channel partner is our customer, and we too try to take that sort of customer-centric approach to life with the delivery of our services. We do pride ourselves on being as easy as possible to do business with. There's some of the older stuff that we would used to say around, you know, the Gamma portal, the stability of our network and being contactable and efficient with our customer support. All of that still rings true today. But actually, one of the things that I've noticed changing at our end that I do think will have a great impact on our channel partners and hopefully therefore their customers is in fact actually taking ownership and control of the software that is underpinning what we're selling. And we've started to move into that space. You know, people will be aware that we made the acquisition of Telsys. We've developed our new product, Horizon Contact, that's coming to market very soon. And certainly I've been impressed with how quickly we've been able to do that. And I think it gives me great hope that for the future with regards to our ability to innovate and improve on the stability, the fixed times of our applications without the reliance on someone else. And I think that is something that's going to greatly benefit our channel partners.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Andy. Same question to Sachin. I mean, Sachin, you know, is customer service a worry to you, and the service that your partners provide to their customers, is that a worry to you, or do you think it's all going swimmingly?
I think it's always a challenge. You know, there's no doubt the pandemic has had a big shift in how we operate. That affects the culture. There's a cultural shift as well. And we have to remember that we're now working in isolation. So we don't have our colleagues next to us anymore, who we can just have a conversation with. It's got to be booked in now, or we've got to maybe drop someone a quick chat to say, hey, can I ring you? So, you know, we are working on our own a lot of the time. So it's always it's always at the forefront of your mind, because customer service is crucial in the channel. And for me, it's not actually customer service, it's customer experience. So how do you create or continue to maintain a frictionless service to your customer? So for me, you know, I need to make sure that my teams have got the right tools. So having those right tools in place and having the right equipment in place is a good starting point. But we have to also remember here as well that we can't allow the tools to control how we interact with our customers. And one of the threats here is we're not picking up the phone and talking to our customers. We're actually emailing them instead, or using a web chat or messaging. So we're promoting communication quite heavily within our organization. Pick up the phone. Don't drop someone an email. Don't drop someone a chat message on Teams, because it's just too easy. Pick up the phone, have the conversation. And so communication now becomes the biggest focus point in delivering good customer experience. You know, it's assumed, you know, around this table that we do have good infrastructure, and we do maintain high SLAs, and we do deliver what we say, and we do respond quickly. So it all boils down to that high touch and that communication piece. So our focus is very much around maintaining high touch communication with our customers, and I think that for me is what's going to drive that customer experience. In terms of the frictionless piece, for us, it's, you know, we're investing in a brilliant basics program. So looking at our systems and our processes and our technologies, are they doing what they should be doing? And now that we're working from home, have we seen any changes? Because inevitably we will do. So what changes do we need to make across our organization in order to continue maintaining that high touch communication to our customers, who do rightfully demand quick responses, instant fixes almost. So there's a huge focus on the brilliant basics. And, you know, for me, it's, you know, I'd be promoting to the channel to focus on automation. So there's a huge program within our organization around automating our processes and empowering our partners to almost self-serve and make those changes. So procure quickly and make in-life changes, you know, almost in real time. Those are the new frictionless requirements that a business needs going forward. It was always there, don't get me wrong, but now it's even more important.
Thanks, Fashion. I know Steve and the guys at Zen, and the whole team at Zen rather, are very big on culture, very big on service. Steve, obviously, you know, I'm sure you guys have been working very hard to make sure that your partners are providing the right sort of service, because they reflect you in effect, don't they? Can you please put some weight behind that?
Absolutely, Nigel. So yeah, service is absolutely crucial, and it is one of our kind of key differentiators in the market. It's interesting. I think we did a survey last year and surveyed some partners, and I think 64% of them said that they could actually improve their customer service. So I think there's recognition that it can be better. And I think 42% of them recognise that COVID's forced them to raise the bar. And I think we'll see that. I think when we return to some normality, we'll see expectations have changed. They're much higher than they were. In terms of how we can help, I think you know, we ran this Circle of Excellence program last year where we were basically running NPS surveys on our partners' behalf. And it was really interesting to see the feedback we got, because despite the reputation, there was some really great feedback from customers about the service that those partners were giving. And if you look at it, it's just getting the basics right. So make it easy to contact your organization, you know, respond quickly, manage expectations with those customers, keep them informed. I mean, it's all things that are really obvious, but actually so many businesses really struggle to get that right. It's really challenging. So I think getting the basics right, I think the culture is really important. So if I look at our business, you know, right at the top, Richard and Paul drive a culture of service, of continual improvement, of obsessing about customer journeys and making them better. So I think you've got to set your stall out, aim high, you know, set a really high benchmark, and get that culture of continuing improvement every day, looking for ways to do something better today than you did yesterday. So
yeah, absolutely. Tony, at Tollring, I'm sure you said earlier you've been around for a long time at Tollring, and I'm sure that service has been very much to the fore. But I'd be interested to understand whether you have a sort of almost a dictatorial approach with your partners on service, or is it, come on the journey with us together? We want to improve customer service together. It'd be good to understand how you approach that.
Yeah, look, customer service, as the guys have just said, is critical for all businesses, right? How's it included? And what we've been focusing very heavily on is providing as much self-service portal visualization, dashboarding of information that can really empower the channel to proactively manage their customers. Okay, we're a business, a software supplier that supplies products and services, call center products, cloud call recording services, and so forth, through a service provider network. We have a fair number globally, and whilst we follow the sun 24/7 service levels, it's really important that we're able really to devolve the information that our service providers and their wholesale partners require to really manage their important customers, and by actually creating some tools that allow them to proactively manage those customers, and as was said previously, to be able to make the changes proactively, reactively, be able to give them the information at their fingertips is really an area that we focused a lot of our kind of customer service elements, our development efforts, is very much around giving people, our partners, the ability to manage those customers more effectively. So we've done a lot of work there around ensuring that that's both from a kind of provisioning and onboarding aspect, right the way through, as I say, to in-life managing of the needs of those customers. So yeah, look, it's the shift to cloud has helped. You're able to provide services now where our partners are able to see all of their customers in a single portal. There's some really great monitoring capabilities around understanding how those customers are, what their kind of in-life experience is. And the customer experience journeys are critical, right? And, as we've said before, we need to be able to offer these sorts of services to deliver a strong customer experience. And yes, customers are going to contact you in different ways. I think if there's a critical issue, they're going to be on the phone to you, aren't they? You can't replace voice from a kind of a P1 type situation, but certainly being able to deal with all sorts of queries in different forms in communication channels that are suitable to our partners and customers is key. So offering that is really important. As I said, we've done a lot of work in being able to manage a global network of partners and their wholesale channels. So it's challenging, but very, very exciting at the same time.
Fabulous. Now, in the last year, as much as scientists have acted fast to produce vaccines, ICT boffins have rapidly developed faster, slicker, easy to use technology, often cloud-based, to improve what you mentioned earlier, customer experiences. So I'd be interested to understand how you guys can help channel partners identify customers that are still using legacy technology and help them deliver the new innovative cloud technologies that meet the needs of the new world that customers are now living and working in. So Andy, can you give me your thoughts on that, please? How are you going to help resellers understand that these old technologies are going to be outmoded pretty soon?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think, there's an education piece there. We've certainly got enough content to assist our partners, and we look to engage with them all the time. I think at a supplier level, we could perhaps be better at communicating things like making sure channel partners understand geographical areas that are going to be impacted by things like the upcoming stop sell on WLR, as an example, 170 odd exchanges by the end of the year, I think it is, and the associated opportunities with that, as well as being a bit more upfront and forthright with sharing FTTP availability and allowing our channel partners to get ahead of the curve in certain areas. I think it's 18 odd % availability today, but you know, when we went through this with FTTC, it feels like yesterday. So you know, it will happen quicker than we all think, I'm sure. At a more granular level, I suppose suppliers and channel partners alike do have access to information that can assist advance that transformation. You know, at Gamma, we're constantly trying to work with our channel partners to evaluate their own existing WLR and CPS estates, and trying to find ways to proactively engage with them, and let's be honest, incentivize them to try and speed up the change. And I think our channel partners themselves can actually take that a step further by evaluating where they might be slightly exposed, dare I say it, to perhaps an estate full of PBX maintenance recurring margins. You know, it's been a wonderful revenue stream, I'm sure, for a long period of time, but how long can we really expect that to continue for? So is now the time to target these already warm customers, because that's the positive side of it. They're your existing customer base, and you should have a strong enough relationship with them to pick up the phone and just educate about what the wonderful new world of IP is, and how it can greatly enhance their experience, and perhaps more importantly, their customers' experience. So yeah, for those that haven't taken the leap of faith just yet, you know, Gamma are certainly well equipped to onboard partners with hosted sales specialists that are there to help, and all of our online training and accreditations. We've spent a lot of time developing our Gamma Academy. And look, we really work hard to make sure that transition is a smooth one for anyone that's embracing it for the first time.
Yeah. Sachin, do you have an educational program for partners on taking out this old legacy stock?
Probably not as sophisticated as Gamma's, but you know, I'm a great believer in good conversations and letting curiosity get the better of you. So you know, for us, it comes back to two things really. It's focusing on innovation. You know, with the pandemic, innovation is key, and we've got you know, new demands set on us, whether that's working from home, whether that's, you know, reviewing productivity, and I link, you know, productivity and efficiency together, and you know, and there's a new challenge for IT managers and resellers alike in how do you now start to measure productivity and efficiency whilst everyone's working from home. Well, it's pretty difficult now. Yeah. So for me, it's you know, as I say, innovation is one piece, and that high partner engagement, and you know, educating and discussing and talking about the innovations that we have in place. So there's a huge focus for us in our self-service portal. So you know, it comes back to providing the right collateral and the ability to check, you know, different products and technologies. You know, what's available where. Sitting and having the relevant conversations around, you know, what are the challenges that businesses are facing today, and you know, the key one for me really is business, you know, intelligence analytics. So as we move forward in what will now be this hybrid workplace, how do we help our customers gain better insight into how their organizations and the people within them are operating? And you know, with our connectivity, we've got, you know, we're investing in better analytics and business intelligence on the performance of domestic connectivity, as well as their business connectivity, the applications that they're accessing. You know, how good, or what's the latency, what's the performance of that. We're helping, you know, our partners secure and improve performance into certain applications. Whether that be AWS or Azure or similar, and the same applies to voice. You know, voice is the key means of communicating with our customers. So providing you know, deep analysis and intelligence on the performance of the telephony calls, you know, what's being picked up, what's not being picked up, what does that on hold look like? You know, it's all become so much more important to provide that deep analysis of what's going on within an organization. So there's a huge investment for us in bringing that business intelligence and analytics to the channel, who then can provide that back into their customer base. And there you start to identify the challenges, that businesses face. And hopefully through our innovation, we can start to then address some of those challenges.
Intelligence, very, very good point. Steve, I'm sure that Zen Internet are very much ahead of the game in terms of that. It'd be good to get your understanding of, or your viewpoint rather, on how you're addressing the challenges out there for partners.
Yeah, I think two thoughts, Nigel. I think firstly data. We're just awash with data. So who can get FTTP, who's going to be able to get FTTP, which stop sell exchanges are going to go live. I mean, we've just got data coming out of areas. So I think for partners, it's about being able to interpret that data and make it meaningful. So we put together a campaign since last year where we took all that data and allowed partners to be able to log in and see, click on an exchange, a postcode, a city, a town, and see what coverage is available, both now and in the future. And that's been really popular. I think we've got 450 partners access those tools, and they're using it to create campaigns, etc. And I think the other key one is education. So I think you can never do too much on this in terms of webinars, materials, communicating with the channel, helping give the channel partners tools to communicate with their end users. And there's an enormous technology change going to happen over this next 5 years. And I think you can never talk too much about it to ready ourselves for it, is my own view. So yeah, we've been doing lots of work in terms of training and webinars to try and support our partners through this next change in technology.
Fantastic. Tony, I think Sachin mentioned their analytics, very much up your street. Perhaps you can give us your strategy in terms of getting resellers, to identify some of the legacy equipment that's out there and putting new cloud stuff in.
Yeah, definitely. Look, we're a 30-year-old plus business, so we understand the legacy environment well. We've helped our partners look at how they can transition services to the cloud in almost a soft approach. We understand that there are customers that are very used to running services the way that they do. The migration to cloud, I think we're a good fair few years in. I think as an industry, we've been very fortunate, right? Before the pandemic hit, we were already making some massive advancements in the cloud. Certainly voice technology, the shift to cloud was well underway and very successful. And I think obviously it's accelerated now. We have a number of customers, probably, certainly a very large percentage of customers that are still leveraging on-prem technologies. These are legacy customers, and our channel partners are now well underway in looking at moving those customers to the cloud. But we do see it as a bit of a journey. I mean, if you look at some of our business intelligence tools, a lot of them are now only accessible via the cloud, but we've built a very strong hybrid proposition. So we can still take the data from any number of sources, including those on-premise, and having them accessible via cloud delivered services. So I think this has been a nice shift. Certainly as you move into mid-market, you find that the larger customers are a little bit more reticent to perhaps embrace full steam ahead with a cloud move. So giving them some tools that will allow them to sort of migrate at their own pace, I think is also important. And we've been able to do that through things like being able to, for example, store call recording data locally, but still having it accessible via the cloud, having a mix, for example, of cloud-based storage, as well as I say, local storage, for example, through sort of MiFID II compliance or financial institute compliance. They can still retain some of those legacy processes, and we can migrate them on a bit of a journey, right? Take them on a journey. So I think certainly there's a great opportunity. I think the revenue opportunity for the channel is still immense. There's still a lot of legacy kit and legacy customers out there. And I think if we can provide services where we can move them and transition them easily, I think there's a massive opportunity for the channel to do well there. And as the guys have said, it's all about understanding that this stuff is easy to do, and they're not going to lose any of their kind of requirements or services that they have today. And then combining that with the bigger picture. So if you look at business intelligence, we're seeing intelligence now being very much around this. You've got this big data pot. There's a lot of information out there. How can we make it actionable? What are the insights that really matter to those customers? And certainly the elements around collaboration. We're seeing now engagement with customers taking place across Teams meetings, Zoom meetings, as well as voice. So how can we really get an understanding of how well we're actually performing in terms of that customer experience? And it requires us to be able to leverage multiple sources of data and bring it together to provide some really strong, actionable insights. And certainly that's where a lot of our innovation has been focused on over the last couple of years and beyond, really to prepare us for this cloud journey in what we're seeing today.
Sure. So, yeah, absolutely. Fantastic opportunities out there, and I don't want to be negative, but there are economic challenges ahead. And I think most of your reseller partners will be saying, we need business, we need to generate business. So in the current climate, it might be difficult, might be a business might be a little bit more difficult to get hold of. So how do you prioritize your efforts in, as you said earlier, Tony, using data in a more intelligent manner to help resellers get leads and nail new business? So can I ask Andrew to pick up on that, please? How are you using data effectively?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Nigel. I think there's a few strands to this. I think in this climate and over the last 12 months, I think the marketing teams have become an absolutely intrinsic part of trying to gain new business through education of end customers. I think Steve touched on it really well, in as much as saying, think about how challenging it is for us to educate each other within the industry. Imagine the challenge that our channel partners have to do the same thing for their end customers. Well, it's just got to be constant. It's got to be constant and also intelligent, in terms of its messaging, picking up on certain verticals, picking up on certain pinch points. I think our channel partners are the experts at that. Whenever I've sat in front of an end customer demo, I've only ever worked in channel, and certainly the messaging and the language that's used gets flipped on its head because it's all about the customer. Of course it is. So I think there is a lot of emphasis in this climate on the marketing team to make sure that they're making good use of white papers to try and get the message out using all forms of social media. And something that I've noticed a bit of an uptake in, which seems to be working really well, and certainly doesn't come at the expense of a load of croissants and orange juice, is webinars, right? So educational webinars, having a call out day, trying to drive activity, getting 40, 50 people onto a webinar. What a fantastic opportunity that is. And it's not a hard sell. You're picking up on themes that have been occurring over the last 12 months. People have been taking experiences that their customers have been giving them as being using a methodology that takes that and then creates a clear message on why that wouldn't have been the case or would not be the case if you had something like hosted technologies and all of the wonderful stuff that comes with it.
Yeah.
If net new business is proving hard to come by, I do think that one of the biggest opportunities in this climate, of course, exists within a channel partner's already existing customer base. Through our success as a SIP provider, we've got a visibility of a huge amount of data, all of those endpoints that have a start date, that therefore we can logically apply the assumption that there's a PBX that might be somewhat past its best, and proactively we're sharing that data with our channel partners and working with them to encourage them to see if we couldn't be engaging with the end customer to have a conversation that is progressive and hopefully is addressing some of the problems that they might be experiencing in today's climate. And I also think there's an opportunity that might exist for the channel partners themselves that might, and I'm not saying this would be the case for everybody, but I think I've seen evidence where there might be certain departments with a channel partner that aren't necessarily joined up. I think the knowledge that might sit within an operations team and a support team at a channel partner from the last 12 months might be better served by getting the sales team and the operations team joined up. There might be customers of your own sat there that are sort of surviving on patched up on-premise solutions, where perhaps if the sales team hasn't been engaged, that there is in fact an already existing opportunity to pick up the phone and try and address the experiences that they're currently having with all of the stuff that we've been talking about today.
Sure. Sachin, Vioni, tell us about your business generation activities for your partners. Is it something that you don't want to interpose too much with them, or do you get very involved with their own business generation using data effectively, etc.?
Yeah, it's a tough one, this. I mean, I agree with Andy that there's a huge focus for us in marketing activity now. So we're doing a lot around blogs, thought leadership pieces, education pieces, just to keep people abreast of what's going on, what we're seeing in the industry too. But I think the big piece of work that we're doing is really looking within our own base and getting our partners to look within their own base too, because through good conversations, whether that be through a webinar or a one-to-one or a roundtable or whatever it may be, you start to really understand the challenges that the end customer is facing. And all they want is, am I doing the right thing here? Because I need to make a change. We're all working from home. I need to go and deploy, a hosted voice solution, or I need to go and deploy a whole bunch of FTTCs and FTTPs to these homes. And this is what I'm thinking about. And the one that reassurance that actually they can rely on their channel partner, who can then rely on their service provider like Vioni to offer the right advice and the right solution to go and get that done. So it's not like everyone's shooting in the dark. Everyone has a reasonably good idea simply because they're reading stuff, they're talking to each other, etc. But looking within the base, you're going to quickly uncover lots of opportunity. And what we're doing with data is, we're looking at data such as, well, which businesses are seeing a drop off in bandwidth utilization. Well, that potentially tells us that they're all now working from home. So let's go and talk to them and understand, well, what is the situation, and what have you deployed, or what are you thinking of deploying, and how permanent is that? Another one is we're looking at our support tickets. So are there any particular customers who are raising more support tickets now than they did pre-pandemic? That should tell you that they've got challenges, whether that be through legacy systems, whether in fact they don't quite know what to do with their current situation, and they do need someone to lean on. And so we'll highlight that, and we'll start to talk to our partners about, well, this end customer, or you seem to be raising quite a lot of support issues around this end customer. So let's have a conversation. What's driving that? So that's some of the basic data analytics that we're using to kind of help educate our partners. But I think it just comes back to some really, really basic things, which is, again, coming back to high touch, high interaction, and utilizing the marketing teams for what they're really good at doing, which is sending out that communication and educating the industry and the channel partners on what is in fact going on. So that would be my take on that piece.
Steve, Zen, you've got a lot of partners. I can't remember how many, but I think it's way in the nearly 1,000, isn't it? Partners now you've got at Zen.
Yeah, 700, Nigel.
700 partners. A lot of partners to keep motivated with marketing information and webinars and all that sort of thing. Do you have a whole team, looking after business generation for your partner teams?
Yeah, it's interesting, Nigel. I think we've seen a similar trend to what Andy touched on earlier. Is that the demand on our marketing resource is very significant. So over this last few months, as you say, partners looking to try and generate new business in what's a tougher climate, is they've been really approaching us and saying, right, we want to run some campaigns. What can you do to help us? And we're almost at a point where we've got a waiting list of partners wanting to do campaigns. So it's about, I think for us, it's about some one-to-one based campaigns for certain partners in certain areas, together with giving them tools that they can go and access themselves to run their own campaigns. We've seen some good success with direct mail, social, typical tactics that we've used in the past. One interesting one that I've seen is obviously we're all having these Zoom calls and Teams calls. So we encourage the guys to say, well, let's just pick up the phone. Let's try the traditional telephone. And it's amazing what happens. I got a call the other day on my mobile. It's the first call I had in about 3 days. It was great. I loved it. So that worked quite well for us.
Yeah. Tony, obviously, call recording, great way of getting analytics. The whole call management things that you offer the channel must be a way of encouraging partners to get involved in stuff. So give us your take on that.
Yeah, look, partner enablement, sales enablement programs are key now. I think, as the guys have touched on, digital marketing, we've looked at our marketing function, and we've really incorporated it now as being part of our, sales and operations functions as well. And I think it was Steve who touched on, Sachin who touched on the fact that being able to understand the kind of support tickets and requirements that are coming in to your business, and then being able to really utilize that to determine, how you can affect sales and be able to improve your products are really critical. Certainly as the requirements and the dynamics are changing and people's needs are changing. So we are doing a lot more around being able to understand the needs of our customers, making sure that we remain relevant in the different ways that they're utilizing our services and ensuring that those enhancements are made. And we're starting to look a lot more at verticalization. So we're starting to understand certainly the user base in terms of what verticals they operate in, what some of those challenges are, and what problems we are able to solve using our services. And we've gone to the channel with some really some great vertical messages. And allow them to really understand their basic customers, and then maybe look at things with a slightly different angle, right? And certainly, as you say, using the data analytics and the services that we are able to offer, we're able to unearth and uncover some of those challenges, and also obviously the benefits and the solutions around those. So, vertical kind of alignment has been key, and a big push around sales enablement. Look, we're all home. Webinars are probably something that we're going to get a lot more traction on now, as people are kind of, have a bit more, I say time, but certainly they have a little bit more focus around their day without the distractions perhaps. So we're seeing a much bigger webinar attendance now in terms of the programs we're running through the channel. So as much as I don't disagree with, pick up the phone and have a chat with your customers, I do think that the digital marketing elements now are the way that we're going to accelerate, and our partners are going to be able to accelerate growth. It's very, the mindset can be, look, let's batten down the hatches. We're in a pandemic. We're worried about our businesses. I think, obviously that's an attitude that, people have been furloughed, and typically when we talk to our channel partners, it's predominantly the sales effort that's mostly been furloughed. And I would say really that it's about being smart and looking at how you can generate revenue, definitely within your base, but also being able to, utilize some low resource type services around getting the messages out there around those digital channels. And I think that, that is something we're starting to see the channel embrace a little more, and it's the right approach. And I think it'll continue now for quite some time, right, where our sales effort is going to become a lot more online than it's ever been before.
Sure. I'd like to bring up the subject of full fibre now, because I think there's still a big education piece required when it comes to communicating the benefits of full fibre, especially in this whole remote working world we're living in, and particularly to the small business centre. I think as it stands, full fibre is only available, I think Andy mentioned it earlier, to only 18% of the UK currently. So my question is, how can we work together as an industry to achieve better understanding of the benefits of full fibre? And should channel partners make the leap of faith now, even though it could be some time before any real gains can be made? So perhaps I could bring Andy on that one, please.
Certainly, yeah. It's a tricky one, isn't it? I think the 18% is still 18%. So where it's available, the benefits are clear. There's just less issues on full fibre compared to traditional copper, and there's greater ability to flex for the end customer on FTTP. And I think perhaps to the detail in your question though, probably also worth mentioning that there's also lots of variants of it as well. So there is going to be something that addresses the PSTN replacement in FTTP as well. Well, it already exists today. Low bandwidth FTTP. So I think my partial answer to your question is yes. I think partners should absolutely be adopting it, because there's a logic that suggests that after the switch off in 2025, which is predominantly about voice, there's an argument to suggest that the attention will turn to the copper pair. So full fibre, if available, make the move now, 100% for me. And I think, but probably to the nub of the question, it's about how we're communicating that. And if you compare the two projects, the switch from analog to digital telly, compared to what's going on with in our industry, you know, you've got one that was government led in terms of being fully in the public domain, and another that is being, you know, government involved but industry led. And I think there is a challenge where we've got to try to be potentially a bit more joined up to, because it's a huge task. And if we're not careful, there might be people duplicating efforts. And I think we could be more joined up to achieve ultimately the end goal. And we need to create some clear messaging around what we give both our channel partners, but ultimately also the end customer around all of these changing technologies. And if they're all available, which one are they picking? Yeah,
I've still got an analog radio, by the way, and it still works fine. Sachin, is it too early to start selling, to start encouraging partners to buy into full fibre, in your opinion?
No, not at all. I think we'll see a similar revolution to when broadband first came about back in, you know, the early 2000s. You know, full fibre is perversely, full fibre is now being accelerated because of the pandemic, and that's one of the greatest things that's come out of the pandemic, in my opinion. But no, I think, you know, the channel have got to embrace full fibre. It will revolutionise small businesses and how they operate, and it will pave way to implementing successful home working solutions as well. So there's no doubt about it. Full fibre is well and truly on a path to changing the way we, you know, to changing the economy ultimately. So it's, you know, and because of that, we're investing in building one of the biggest connectivity platforms, or FTTP platforms in the country. But I think, you know, the challenge that we face, the channel face and have faced with broadband products is, you know, we need to just get rid of some of the, dare I say, the bullshit that comes with, you know, broadband versus full fibre, and we need to just be a little bit more straightforward in talking about what it actually is. And hopefully, because of the new wave of full fibre products, there's probably no need to dress it up. You know, it does what it says on the tin ultimately. So I'm hoping the marketing teams across all the operators and all the guys who are building these networks will keep it straightforward. And I think, you know, Andy touched on it just before. There's a bloody acronym for. There's how many varieties of full fibre do we have in this country? Even I get lost with it, you know, and this is my specialist area. So I think simplifying the product sets is really important. You know, we've got SOGA, we've got FTTP, we've got GPON, we've got, you know, all these varieties. Well, which one's what and what does what? And ultimately, they all do the bloody same thing, don't they? Just give you faster broadband more reliably and with better performance. So I think simplifying the industry and the products, I think is a must in order for the channel to really embrace it. So as soon as we get a dark art, it's you know, people tend to not lose interest, but they find it difficult to then embrace a technology that they're not used to selling or talking about. So I think that for me is you know, are the big areas really. So yeah, I mean, I can't talk enough about fibre. It's our pedigree. It's what we do, and we do really well. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting over the next few years on what really happens. And I'm hoping, you know, both BT Openreach and some of the leading altnets will start to you know, start to make that change.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So I was going to ask Steve. Do you think, Steve, that the Openreach and the alternative network providers are working fast enough to roll out full fibre? And I suppose the second part of my question is, are your partners demanding it? You know, come on, let's get going with this. We've got customers out there that want it.
Yeah, absolutely, Nigel. I think the rollout's starting to really gather some real pace now. So I think we're at 4 million premises from an Openreach point of view, and if you add in the altnets, we're at just over 5. And it's accelerating really quickly. So they're adding about 2 million a year. So if you think in 3 years' time, 10 million premises will be able to get full fibre. That's half the country. So I think to the point about should we act now? Absolutely, and the demand is there. So Openreach is seeing about 17,000 customers a week moving to this full fibre technology. We've seen order volumes double over the last 3 or 4 months. So there's no question about the demand. I think Sachin's quite right. I've been around the block a while now in this industry, and this is another big technology change, and it's one that's going to last a long time. This technology will go to 1 gig to 10 gig. It's going to be there for a very long time. I think we are guilty of talking acronyms way too much. So I share Sachin's frustration. FTTP, full fibre, fibre to the home, SGEA, SOGFAST. It's like relentless acronyms. And, we need to stop doing that. We need to simplify it. I think we also need to stop talking about just speed, because while speed is important, the other thing you get with full fibre is better performance. We see 80% less faults on our full fibre services. I mean, it's a significant reduction. And from a partner's point of view, that's less support calls. You don't need as many operational people. You're giving your customer a better service. They're going to be more loyal. They'll recommend you more. I mean, there's tremendous benefits. So, yeah, I'm extremely passionate about full fibre, Nigel. It is the future, and the future for me is here right now. And just one final point is the business angle here. So a lot of the perception from partners is it's just consumer where we're taking these circuits. Well, today there's 5% of business premises can get full fibre. So that's 200,000 businesses. And in a year's time, that'll be 6% of the UK, 400,000 businesses. So let's not forget there's lots of businesses that can access this technology, and they're kind of waiting for us all to go and tell them that it's available. And when we do, they'll buy it, is our experience. So.
Absolutely. And talking about that, those nice fat pipes that can make applications work so much better, it's time to bring in Tony on this subject. Tony, I'm sure that you can't wait for full fibre to get out there.
Absolutely, and certainly, as you quite rightly say, delivering business analytics, call recording services, even our fraud management tools that we deliver to the market. Connectivity is everything, right? And even just as a consumer, we want to be able to rely on these meetings and being able to utilize the products and services that make us, the tools that make us operate effectively. So I'm not an expert around fibre, of course, but for us, we've had to do a lot of work around being able to provide resilience and reliability in terms of our architecture. So certainly around critical services that we offer, no one wants to see a wallboard freeze or a presence of an agent stuck. All of these kind of real practical issues around running an effective business from these kind of remote and home working type environments is really frustrating. So again, we've done a little bit of work around understanding that call quality. Which one of the participants in meetings perhaps has the worst connectivity and causing some of those issues. So, look, absolutely, I think that the quicker we can move to a much stronger connectivity framework, and in the UK, the better. And as I say, it just means application developers like ourselves, don't need to worry so much about dealing with the reliability issues that you can experience today.
Sure. I'm very conscious I'm keeping you all from a much-deserved cup of coffee, but just a couple more questions I've got for you. And the next one I'd just like to touch upon is this terminology that's become ubiquitous in the channel now, which is as a service, which I guess in many ways replaces traditional maintenance revenues by giving partners the opportunity to deliver all solutions on a subscription model. So my simple question to you all is, are these new everything as a service models good or bad for channel partners? Andy, can you pick me up on that, please?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, being forward thinking, it's good. Unquestionably, it's a good thing. I just think it opens up a huge opportunity for the industry that we all know and love and worked in for a number of years to move into its next phase. It's not necessarily going to be easy, but I think the opportunity to be creative about the solutions that you're designing with and for your customers we'll have a lot of people really excited. There'll be some people listening to this and they'll know that they're like a kid in a sweet shop, and they probably actually don't know where to start because they're just too excited. I mean, just as a sort of personal experience of a sort of example of something that I went through that could have been enhanced by software as a service. You know, as I'm sure potentially a lot of people listening to this might have done over the last 12 months. I bought some wine recently from a relatively well-known wine retailer, and I have to say, normally their customer service is fantastic. Normally get a call a day or two after placing the order just to say it's on its way, and it's just a courtesy call. Fantastic. Sometimes they call to say, sometimes it makes me sound like I do it every week. Sometimes they call and they do, you know, they say they've got to replace a bottle, but they'll replace it with something of a higher value. Again, absolutely fantastic customer service. But for whatever reason, this order fell into a hole and I didn't hear anything, and it certainly didn't get delivered for a couple of weeks. So I tried to get in touch with them. It was impossible. I couldn't get hold of them. I gave up 3 or 4 times on the phone, 30, 40 minutes on hold, no replies to a whole bunch of emails. And that to me is a glaringly obvious hole and an opportunity, and highlights something that, you know, to the question. As a service, things as a service. Well, there are products, there are features that exist today that address that very kind of customer experience. If anyone wants to get in touch with me, I'll let you know who it was, and you can give them a call. But I think that massively highlights just one small example of what's going on across the entire country. I think that in a nutshell exemplifies, you know, the opportunity that exists for channel partners and makes it all incredibly exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Sachin, connectivity as a service very much part of your model these days?
Not quite, but hey, I might take you up on that idea and see what it's all about. I think we've got to, you know, look at consumers, right? So we're all consumers ourselves, and look how things have changed. You know, we've gone from renting a movie from Blockbuster to now streaming video across not just Netflix. Now I've got Netflix, Disney Plus, I've got Amazon Prime. So, you know, as consumers, we're quite happy to pay as a service nowadays. So I think, and that then, you know, that behavior then travels into the workplace. So as business leaders, managers, decision makers, we're also quite happy to take something on as a service. And look at the complexity of our environment now. You know, there are so many things for a business to manage. That one of the beautiful things about everything as a service or something as a service is a lot of that burden of managing, maintaining, fixing, you know, is taken away, and you can, you know, as a business leader or decision maker, you can go and focus on what you're really good at, which is making decisions and progressing the business. So I think, services or things as a service, or everything as a service is definitely a great business model. You know, reoccurring revenue, it gives you, you know, especially during the pandemic, you've got foresight now, haven't you? What income am I going to receive over the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months, because all my customers are in a longer term contract. So, you know, so making, you know, any businesses that have not really embraced that reoccurring revenue model, I'm sure most people have, or most businesses have, you know, we're all clever people, right? It's definitely the right move. And if I look at my own business, there was a time when we bought things. Now we've made that complete transition to we rent things, you know, and so just my own business alone is a great example of moving into that everything as a service model. Mm-hmm. And so in our own organization, we're doing exactly that. Every single service we build now is OpEx heavy and CapEx free, and the pandemic has accelerated that, because ultimately people are a little bit reluctant to spend money. They've got it and they want to spend it, but they're not too sure whether they should do it right now, or whether they should go and spend that 10 grand up front. All right, we'll take that burden away from you, and don't spend £10,000 up front or whatever it may be. Let's just build it into into an OpEx model, which which has a reasonable contract period, so you're not frightened from that too. So that's that's how we're behaving, and that's what we're doing and supporting the channel. So yeah, it's definitely an area of a very interesting area, and then we'll see more and more services transition from being capex to opex, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve at Zen, I mean, this move towards subscription services, have you found there's been any resistance to it from your partner base, or is it all very positive?
No, I think very positive, Nigel. I mean, I'm sure we all feel like that. We're very lucky to be in a sector where we've got this significant amount of recurring revenue that's coming through. To Sachin's point, we've been all fortunate to be able to sit here through this pandemic and have those recurring revenues coming through. I can remember maybe 5 or 6 years ago now meeting with an electronics manufacturer who was dealing with some consumers, and they asked me at the time, how much of your revenue is recurring? And I said, well, about 98%. He just looked at me like flabbergasted, as if obviously every month he was relying on his sales team generating the revenue month to month. When I landed that on him, he was absolutely amazed. But I think we've seen that shift now. So people are very, as Sachin said, very comfortable with that model. I think the only downside I see is just increased expectations. For that X per month, the expectations are high. Even as consumers, our expectations in our consumer world. I mean, I did the fateful thing of changing the router out the other day and unplugging the router for about 10 minutes, and my kid looked at me as if I'd shot somebody. It was quite a horrified look on their faces, and it just shows you about that expectation that's there is very significant. So I think managing those extra expectations is a challenge, I think.
Absolutely. I'd imagine, Tony, just to wrap this point up, as a service must be meat and gravy to you now at Tollring. It must be what you're providing all your products on that kind of model now, aren't you?
90+%, Nigel. Absolutely, it's been a huge shift for us, and being able to even help our channel partners understand that this is the right way to go. I think as a service is a great way for our channel partners to even build a really strong exit strategy. Right, if you've got a really good recurring revenue stream, it's an important mindset that channel partners need to almost, take a little bit of a leap of faith and say, look, those maintenance contracts are a thing of the past. We're even at the point now where we're offering 30-day subscription licenses. It's not even a 1 year lock-in or anything like that, and free trials, digital online purchasing of products, really to get yourself to be able to increase your reach. You need to have these sorts of capabilities within your software services. So absolutely, for us, it's a massive thing and a good thing, and our partners are embracing the services, the subscription model service very well. And going from, we mentioned earlier about legacy to cloud, again transitioning from a maintenance contract to a per user per month model, helps with those sort of transitions. So no, we see it as a great way forward, and it's able to build wealth within your organisation as well. I think that's an important thing, and being able to get access to a bigger audience because of it, right? So you don't need, as Sachin said, we're all using as business owners, whether it's an Asana license, a Salesforce license, an Adobe license, whatever it is, we're buying these things as a service now, as a subscription service. And I think really in terms of managing that, that's SaaS services need a bit of managing as well, right? So we're putting in some practices around, how do we manage starters and leavers, and who's got assigned subscription. So again, as part of our kind of cost management capabilities, we're looking at ways that we can actually offer visibility, because it's whether it's an Azure license, a Microsoft 365 license. I mean, you can imagine how many things we buy now as a business that are user-based subscriptions. So that's a challenge, but an opportunity as well. But absolutely, it's really, really important that the channel embraces the as-a-service mindset as I think we have been.
Fabulous, thanks, Tony. One final question, and it's a quick one. In one sentence, if you had one piece of advice to offer channel partners going forward into this new world we're all facing, what would it be? Andrew.
On the spot, like it. I think COVID-19's probably taught us one thing, and that's to be very respectful of everybody's time, other people's time. and it's led to an increased demand on putting the customer experience first. The driver for a business to want, say, something like advanced telephony features has probably never been about their size. It's been about the activity levels. And for many businesses in the last 12 months, the activity levels have gone through the roof. And thankfully, the products are available to cater for their needs. And now is the time and the opportunity for channel partners to recognise the capability that's in front of them from some of the suppliers on this call, to address the needs and wants of their customers and add those recurring revenue streams that will increase the value of their own business. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity. Did I squeeze that into one sentence?
I was going to say, not in history, but thanks very much. Sachin, one piece of advice to resellers, please.
I'll keep it short. I think it's very similar to what I'd say to my sales teams. Really, is keep that communication medium open. You've got to keep talking, keep delivering that good customer service and that experience. Keep innovating. Ultimately, the world is changing, so we've got to keep moving forward, right?
Absolutely. Steve at Zen, please.
Yeah, I think similar to Sachin, really. I think more than ever we need to engage with our customers, and that includes our partners. Explore their challenges, listen to them, ask great questions, offer up solutions. I think remember that it's never about you. It's always about the customer. That you should definitely remember that. I think if you don't engage, somebody else will. So remember that too.
Absolutely. Final thoughts, Tony, please.
Yeah, look, I think the channel can't be complacent. I mean, I know it's difficult times. It's very easy for us to maybe get wrapped up in all of the successes. We understand it's challenging, but I think it's all about seeing how you can make a difference and be aware of what your customers are needing today in these new environments that they're working in, and being that competitive, having that differentiation, ensuring that you're close to your customer and offer them best of breed technologies that are going to make a difference in solving the problems that they're facing today.
Thanks very much, Tony. Great conclusion. On that note, we have now regrettably run out of time, so I'd like to say a massive thank you to Andy Smethurst from Gamma, Sachin Vaish from Veoni Wholesale, Tony Martino from Tollring, and Steve Warburton from Zen for your very interesting and thought-provoking input. Much appreciated. I'm sure channel people who tune into the recording of this event will get in touch with you should they require further information, and we can help with that. Our next channel forecast session will be in May, when we'll be exploring customer behaviour trends and what that will mean for the channel's connectivity and service providers. I hope by then we'll be finally out of lockdown. Who knows? See you then, everybody. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Nice seeing you all.
Bye-bye.